If you're watching this, you probably won't be making it to the NBA. Here's why. Is this thing on? Before anything, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button right now. I'm detailing the life of an overseas athlete, right? I'm opening up your lens, telling stories about guys that didn't necessarily make it to the NBA, me included, as a 9-year overseas pro. But we still got a story to tell and we're still super interesting. So back to the video. Here's why you didn't make it to the NBA or why you won't make it to the NBA. Now, this is a story of two guys who grew up in the same neighborhood. One ended up playing pro ball overseas for 9 years, and one is probably going to be a NBA Hall of Famer. All right. So the Hall of Famer, he knew from when he was 3 years old, I'm going to be in the NBA. I'm going to be the man on every team that I ever played on. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that. And the overseas guy, he grew up just being an average kid, man. Just doing your everyday thing that kids do. He's in the neighborhood. He's got neighborhood friends. He's, playing video games in the summertime. He's going to the park, hanging out. He gets interested in girls. He's doing things with his homies, as far as like going to parties and, picking up girls, all that stuff, right? He's doing everything. And while he's doing all that stuff, the NBA kid is just focused. He's got a plan. He wrote out his goal at a young age, and he's holding himself accountable at the young age. He's doing things at 14, 15 years old that the overseas guy didn't do until he was about 22, 23. So you didn't make it to the NBA because you didn't have that plan. Every guy that I know that made it to the NBA, not just like a fringe NBA guy, like the legitimate NBA starter type guys, they all had the plan. Whether it was their plan or an uncle's plan, a dad's plan, a mom's plan, the story about Kevin Durant. His mom knew we got something special. We need to nurture this and do it the right way. They all had that plan of attack, right? Before we need to put in 10,000 hours. The first time I heard the $10,000, $10,000. The first time I heard the 10,000 hour rule, I was like, I want to say 12. And my NBA homie, he the one that put me on. And he said, like, by the time he was 13, because he's 1 year older, by the time he was 13, he had already done, probably like 8, 9K hours, right? So by the time he's like 15, 16, and we're all like just coming into our own, most kids by 15 years old is when they start to really get into their own. By that time, he had already done 10,000 hours. He's pro level. My NBA homie, he's a pro. He was a pro in middle school. I tell people all the time, what does it look like when you're growing up and you're the NBA guy? What does that look like? Well, it looks like this: doing pro moves, having pro reads, having pro counters off of defenders, making you decide. Like they're doing that stuff at such a young age because they started earlier and they sacrificed. You weren't willing to sacrifice. I wasn't willing to sacrifice. People tell me all the time, right? Funny enough, Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens. I made a video about Kion Anthony training, and Chris Brickley was the one training him. And I said that, guys need to work out for their level that they're at, right? Especially if you're not like a surefire top 5 NBA pick. Why are you working out, to be in an NBA when you got to dominate college first? Especially as a guard, the 6'5" guard, you got to do what you need to do in college. So I made a video like that, and Terrell Owens got in the comments. He was like, "Man, where'd you play? You didn't play in the NBA?" And I'm like, Terrell, I played 9 years overseas, still a high level of basketball. But you're right, didn't play in the NBA. But guess what? Knowing what I know now, if you ask me now, 32 years old, if you ask me now, what I sacrificed, what I needed to sacrifice, if I could do it all over again and go back in time, would I make those sacrifices to be an NBA player now? Honest answer, no. That's an honest answer. I'm going to tell you why. How many times do you guys need to see NBA players telling you that we're depressed, Man, it's hard. And people say, "Oh, well, you're making millions of dollars. Why are you complaining?" They're still human beings. They still had human experiences. I'm not willing to give up. I had a happy career, man. Like, I had a great career, man. Didn't make millions of dollars, but man, like, I enjoyed everything about my experience, right? I traveled the world. I experienced different cultures. I became open-minded, right? I like when you travel, there's a certain fulfillment that you get from seeing, different ways of living. And I was able to scratch that off my list. I didn't even know that I had that on my list. Going overseas, before I went overseas, I didn't even know that I was like longing for different experiences. But guess what? When you do it, you're like, oh yeah, this is dope. This is lit. If I can go back and do what needed to be done in order to go to the league, I wouldn't do it. What would I give up this happy life for? When that money comes, yeah, that's what everybody says, right? You do it for the money. Yeah, the money is good and all. Don't get me wrong. You like everybody, if everybody could have more money, they'd take more money. However, with that money comes a whole bunch of problems that you never would have thought you'd have before you got the money. Like the more money you make, the more expenses you have. One, that's we all know basic economics. The more you make, the more you dish out. But two, the more people around you change. I couldn't imagine being 19 years old and everybody around me is looking at me like the opportunity, not the son, not the husband, not the brother, not the uncle. They're looking at you like the bank. I couldn't imagine dealing with that. Not necessarily my immediate family because they're super super solid, but you can't control your homies, your extended family. You can't control certain things. So I couldn't imagine having to deal with that at 19 years old. That's what these guys have to go through, right? So it's not all it's cracked up to be. It really isn't. And when you hear these guys telling you that, man, my mental health is not intact, this is not intact, that's not intact, they're saying it for a reason, and you need to listen to that reason. Before you go and say, yeah, I want to be in the NBA, know why you're doing it first, right? Even if you want to go play pro ball overseas. Because I hear a lot of kids saying, yeah, man, I want to be overseas player. And it's like, do you know what that actually means? Do you know why you want to do it? Is it just for financial reasons? Because if it's just for financial reasons, then you might be better off using basketball to get yourself a full scholarship and then taking that full scholarship and like leveraging it to intern opportunity with a large company and go work on the stock market and what I'm saying, make a lot of money that way. If it's just for money, because you use it to get into school, get a scholar, like go for free, and then go be free after that. Because this basketball overseas stuff, man, one day I'm gonna get real honest with you guys and really let you know is not is good things. Yes, there's a lot of good things, but it's not for everybody. Everybody's not built like that. I'm built like that. That's why I had a great career. I had no complaints. Every day I woke up, even when I was in Spain. In Spain, they make you practice 3, 4 times a day. You doing all types of stuff. I had a lot of teammates that were complaining about that lifestyle, but for me, that I'm fine with that. That's okay, right? But the second that you do something uncomfortable, like let's say the practice is too much for you, or let's say that you're not performing the way that you want to perform, the fact that you're in a foreign country just makes everything worse. And that's why I say it's not for everybody. Because can you take adversity while you're not like in your space that you are used to? For the NBA guys, they don't really have to go through that because if you grew up in LA and you get signed to play in Portland, like what it's like. It's still America. You could even get signed to go play in New Orleans. It's still an American city, right? Everybody speaks your language. They understand your culture. Like it's not that far off. People from New York, that's where I grew up. They're familiar with the LA lifestyle. We might not live the same life, but I know what they go through. But when you're across seas, can you deal and push through adversity while not being where you grew up? A lot of people can't. A lot of people can't. So when you say, I want to go to the NBA, I want to go overseas, know what you're getting yourself into. You better be doing it for the right reasons. If you're not doing it for the right reasons, if you're just looking at it like I need to be the breadwinner in my family, it might not be worth it. And you can probably, man, I'll be honest, you can probably get more money by just working a regular 9 to 5, bro. And you can still be the breadwinner. You can still be ambitious, still work hard at your job that you got from playing college for free and going and not having any debt after you graduate. Take that and run with it, bro, because most guys aren't thinking like that. And most companies still want to hire basketball players, but this is not a lot like to choose from because, hey, man, these guys don't want to work. These guys just want to go play pro. If you do, if you're young enough and you do want to still go play in the NBA, I'd say know what you're getting yourself into. Know what it takes. 10,000 hours by the age of 15. I'd say that's what it takes because by the time you're 15, you need to be on the market. You need to be one of the top players in the country. You need to have put in 10,000 hours already. Sacrifice. No girls, no homies, no parties, no clubbing, no experimenting with like, I mean, I wasn't a druggie or an alcoholic back in the day, but I was a kid, like just trying to see what is out there in this big world, right? So you can't do none of that. Can't do any of it. So if you value that, and it's give and take because once you do make it, after you sacrifice all that stuff, and you still have to like experience those things for the first time. That's not easy to deal with either. It's not all it's cracked up to be. And if you're gonna go down that path, you better love it, bro. That's the most important part. You better love it. Unless you're 7 foot and it don't really matter, you're probably gonna make it anyway. You better love this ish.